Welcome to Projects for All. My name is Mike, and today we're doing something in a box so big you can't see the 73-inch toolbox that's behind me. This is the SPT99-11 full-size table saw, Wormdrive, 15 amps. This thing looks amazing. We did the compact, it's on the channel, you can check that one out too. That saw is quality through and through. I'm hoping this is more of the same. The stand's in the box, let's get it out of here, see if it's any good. We've never measured a box on this channel before, but if you're wondering if this is coming home in your wife's Kia Rio, the answer is probably no. We got 40 inches by 30 by about 20. Shipping weight on this is about 100 pounds. 30.5 inches max rip. This thing is freaking huge, 100 pounds. Just like the smaller version, Shervon sent this down here for me to review for you guys. Gonna have a little assembly with this one. That looks familiar. Push stick looks familiar too. A little Roman sword action on that. In fact, just about everything here looks pretty familiar. It's pretty wild. That is large and it is metal. That is some serious tubing right there. All right, so this looks like it's gonna be difficult with the frame and all, because we've seen plenty of difficult ones already, but this is not hard at all. Flip your saw over so the face is facing you. Take the big frame assembly and set it on top. So these feet are on the right side. There's really only a few steps. You got A, B, and C. We have these cupped parts of the feet that are on the saw itself. We're gonna lay that bar on there. The hole here and that hole there, we're just gonna line up with the holes on the saw. You got 4 carriage bolts, no washers. And I'm not gonna tighten anything up till we're totally done. You have C and C on this tube here. Got our short carriage bolts, you only get 2 of them. All right, so here's your final piece of tubing. You got your axle here. This pedal is right here, and you want those on the right side, and that's just gonna sit right there. Hole corresponds with this hole. Inner tube, that hole corresponds with that one. We're gonna use the long carriage bolt, nut washer, and plastic spacer. The plastic spacer goes between the tubes. You got your bolt goes through. That spacer on the other side. And then we got to line up our tube. The washer and our nut. And then this hole right here, carriage bolt in, it's going to go through that hole there, but we got to put the spacer in between. And just lift that up and through it goes. And I'll do the same thing on the other side, exactly the same way. So once you have the bolts in, you should just be able to hit the pedal. Flip it right around like that. Awesome. Hit the pedal again. Folds back down. Locks down both ways. Not bad. Let's tighten the bolts, we'll put the wheels on, that's it. 16 by 1 3/4. These are freaking huge. Washer, 17 mil locking nut. And we got 13 mil on all the rest of them. On mine, you got to push the wheels down a little to lock it, but man, it is easy to move. This thing is an absolute beast. Pressing that lever is that easy to deploy. It takes no effort at all. Not bad. Like always, we're gonna start on the front of the saw. You got a power switch, paddle, nice paddle, on, off. It's got a hole on the side here, so if you push this in, you can put a padlock through here. So if you have an orange cat at home, or you're gonna put this in a school, you can lock this thing down. You got your blade adjustment. Blade down, blade up. You got a bevel lock lever to allow you to bevel your saw. There's Phillips head screws on either side. These are the stops. Once it's locked, that ain't going nowhere. push stick. Just like the little one, it is the same thing. Doesn't lock in like crazy, but it goes all the way in there almost, so I don't think it's going anywhere. You have a big old knob for adjusting your rack and pinion fence system. This is not the smoothest one I felt, I'm not gonna lie to you, but we'll see. We'll have a closer look at it. Lever here, real big, real positive. Lock down your fence. The fence is going nowhere. Easy to reach, nice and big. I like it. Here on the right side of your saw, there isn't a whole lot going on. You can see your lever. Here's your kickback paw. It's odd little mechanism that seems to work really nice. Just fits right up on that bracket. And you got a dust elbow that fits in its little hook right here. Here on the back side, you got a few things going on. Miter gauge fits in a bracket right here. It's in the front of the other side, and it just pops down. Dust port, 2.5-inch dust port. This one is not very deep, as in there is not much to attach to here. However, there is that dust elbow that you can put in there. There's a wing nut here, and there's your dust port. It just fits in this bracket here, half plastic, half metal, and attaches. So if you drop something down in the enclosure for the blade, you can just go and take this off and fish it out. You don't have to turn the saw upside down and shake it to get to it. Dust elbow just fits on there. I'm sure that you could attach your hose to this if you wanted to, make it a little easier, or if you want to point it down at a bucket so it collects the big stuff, you can do that too. Also back here, just beyond your dust port, 5mm Allen key for adjusting your fence, and that's where your included wrench fits on with this little plastic wing nut. Blade guard attaches here. You get these little wire clips on either side to hold it down. Just attaches with that lever. Clips need to be adjusted a little bit. At least that one's a little bent to hold this. The clips hold these two sides down, and that one you got to pull out to get it in there. Whatever. It's a blade guard. Got your cool looking Wormdrive motor housing, brushes on top and on bottom there. On the left side, it's tough to miss this giant thing. This is what it sits on when it's on the floor, but it also doubles as a material support, which is pretty cool. Otherwise, there's really nothing going on. You got a cord keeper, nice metal. This is a 6-foot cord. At least they give you enough keeper here. You can probably put a 10-foot extension cord on the side of this thing and hold it there too. The only other thing is your drain plug up here for your Wormdrive oil. The tabletop is 27.5 by 21 7/8. There are two scales. You get 30.5 full rip, and it looks like you probably get a little bit extra, maybe another 1/4 inch or so. This spot here is 30.5 inches full rip. These are 6 inches apart, so this one will get you 24.5 inches, but this one here will get you all the way to your blade to 0, and then you have almost 17 inches of left side rip. You also get this nice big fat red pointer that, when I just kissed the carbide tips of the blade, appears to be spot on 0. Your fence locks down with these and just pulls right off of there. You've got these metal brackets there that grab and then pull up once this is pushed down. This is where it attaches to the rail. You can see there's a metal insert inside there for durability. I'm assuming, like the smaller one, that's exactly the same design. This does not adjust for any calibration. It's just there for durability. Plastic end caps on an aluminum rail that has that rib section there that is not for attaching things to it, but I'm sure for rigidity. Here's the shorter version. This is for the little Wormdrive, and they are more or less identical. It is the same design, the same super rigid aluminum stock with this rib on both sides. The only difference is the aluminum part on this is shorter. A small auxiliary fence that clips in the backside. 2 positions. It's an 1 3/16 inches, and you can sit it right on top here, so if you need a little more space for the push stick or the gripper or whatever you're using, or you're gonna rip something real small, you can use this little auxiliary fence. If we pull it out, put it in the lower position, and it sits flush with your table. So if you're gonna rip something 30 inches long, you're gonna want some kind of support on the outside to hold it steady. And it just clips right back in. Storing your fence is really easy. You just install it upside down on the left side and clip it down, and it just disappears under the table. Throat plate, metal, very nice. Flathead screw, 4 positions to adjust. Open in the back, so if you have all your safety equipment installed, you can slide this back on without taking all that stuff off, which is always nice. Got a big old arbor on this one. 13/16 Dado stack, we're gonna get to that. There's our included wrench. The arbor lock is on this side here. Arbor nut. It's got a little bit of a bevel on one side. This side, that side's flat. Get your washer. Same 24 tooth Skilsaw. Nice frame and blade. Here's your arbor lock. Nice and positive. This thing locks good. It's easy to use. It positively locks in this part right here. No problem, man. Riving knife. 3 positions, I believe. You get it way up. Locks down with that lever right there. Like the other one, it gets super loose when you unlock it, but relocks just fine and it's tight, so you gotta find those holes there for it to lock into. Not bad. And then I'm sure for Dados, because the riving knife is captive and you can't take it out, it'll lock real low. There we go. So it more or less disappears when you lock it down low like that. I was able to grab us the Dado plate. When we do the cuts, we'll do this. There is a 0 clearance plastic plate available for this too. It's got the holes, just like the little one, to screw it down, but these plates are larger than those, and that one is on straight up back order, so I couldn't get one for us to look at, but theoretically, they're out there. Like the smaller version, it has just this little piece of spring steel screwed to the bottom for retention. This one does seem to go on a little nicer though. You still gotta smack it, but it's a little bit tighter. The other one came right out. This one fits down in there a little bit better, so I think you're less likely to lose this one than the smaller Wormdrive. So we've got our MasterGage plate installed, saw gauge, of course. I was able to install this horizontally this time because this saw is large enough. If I loosened the riving knife, I was able to squeeze this in there. We got it zeroed out. About 3.5 thousandths, maybe 4. Just under 4 thousandths off. Right back to 0. 4 thou. I'm gonna call this acceptable. 4 thousandths, honestly, if I loosen those bolts on the bottom and try to adjust this, could I get it better than 4 thousandths? It's debatable. Is there a chance I'm gonna quit and it's gonna be 6 thousandths? Probably more likely. So I'm gonna leave it alone. Should you need to adjust your blade parallel with your miter slot on the back side of the saw, there's metal strap here holding the motor assembly, and these are even 5mm, so you can do this on the job because your included wrench works. Ours is perfect, no reason to fiddle with ours. Same story on the front side, right there. So this plate we've been using is this plate right here. I bought this from Grizzly. It was nearly $100, but After using it a couple times, I can tell you it's exactly what I wanted to be able to show you guys and not tell you something is good. Showing you is better, always. Made in the USA. There was this little card here, this little paper, explaining that this is a one-man company by a retired veteran, and he makes everything here himself. Came with a conversion chart and a ton of documentation. I'm impressed, man. These are the kind of companies I love to support. And I encourage you to support them too. I have zero affiliation with this. But it's worked really well for me, and I'm happy with the quality. So if you need something like this, you might want to give this one a shot. Thank you for your service, PJ Riley. Here is your Riving knife. This is always difficult to show you guys. Carbide teeth here. And as you can see, it is off, but it's, man, just the tiniest bit. And it does not protrude past the carbide tip on this side, even at the highest point here. So I'm gonna call this acceptable. And one of the straightest ones I've seen out of the box. The adjustment for this is not the best. You loosen these two outside bolts, loosen the jam nut, and you adjust these two screws. They're flathead, this one, and it pulls it in different angles. You're supposed to use a piece of paper against the fence. I did it without the paper because I couldn't get that to work last time. If you want to see me get irritated and adjust one of these, check out the other Wormdrive table saw, the little one. That's in there. There's chapters. You can jump right to it. I don't really show you how to do it because it's a lot of fooling around. It took me about 10 minutes. Does it work? Yes. Do I like it? Not really. So the blade's parallel to the miter slot is the fence. Man. This is probably the best adjusted at the factory saw we've ever looked at. This thing's crazy. I never thought I'd get a result that good. And back to the starting point. To the 1000th. That's crazy. That was the inner one. Let's try the outer one. And we're off by 20 thousandths. To adjust, you get your included Allen key. Just a bolt. And once you loosen it, you can move it anywhere you want and then just tighten it down. Righty-tighty. To adjust these, I usually just pull it straight over the miter slot and just use touch. You can usually feel when it's the same on both sides, and then just tighten this down. And then I'll recheck it. Like 2 thousandths. I find that totally acceptable. Bevel angle stops are this Phillips head screw and this one here for 45. First, set your bevel and line your saw up to 90 degrees. We're gonna loosen this screw right here, and we'll reach behind our saw. There's a cam, and we're just gonna rotate that cam until it touches the stop where we're at already, and then we'll tighten the screw down. And now we should be still at 90 degrees. So we'll loosen, come back, tighten, and right back to 90 degrees. The 45 is exactly the same. Screw here, cam right on the inside here. You just reach under, turn it up against the stop, and you're all set. Is the fence perpendicular to the table? It is, 100%. About at the second spot. 100% straight. Couldn't beat that. There is no adjustment for it, so you're gonna have to shim this if it were out, but no problems whatsoever there. Skilsaw was nice enough to flip the bill for the saw. I figured the least I could do is buy the accessories that are available for it. So we got 15 inches of outfeed support for the rear. Let's get this out of the box and throw it on there and see how it looks. I paid $42 for this off Amazon. Heavy, solid stainless steel. All right, so with your saw on its stand, that's the orientation you want that. This one here, exactly the same way. You want the wing nut hole on the top. I left these loose. We'll install the plate. A little fidgety to install. You got a thumb screw up under this side. and it sits just below the tabletop. Tighten the thumb screw. It's fairly solid. It only came with one, and it's only drilled on this side of both brackets. So when you tighten this down, this side is solid. This side, flop it just a little. I think it'll be fine. For what I'll use it for, it'll be fine. But if it's in a truck and it's getting slammed around, more secure is always better. All I needed to install this was the Allen key that came with the saw, and the flat spots on here are 13 mil, so you can tighten down the bolt on the face of this thing. Otherwise, not bad. So up until this point, we're gonna do some cutting here in a second, but I have two issues. Two. One is with this ruler, and the other is with this fence. This fence gets real tight as it passes over the end here. It's getting better because it's wearing in, and I'll show you what it's doing. But pushing it, it's hard to push in this area right here. You can see on the plastic that encases this extruded aluminum rail, there is some wear on there. And as it passes over that, it gets real tight. Over here on the end, no problem. But it is for sure rubbing this, and you can see the wear on it already. There's the back one. You can see material is sitting on there. End of the world? Probably not, but worth mentioning. So I don't take credit for finding this. This was on the Amazon reviews. And I read it this morning. I said, no way. But sure enough, man, I have the two inches lined up on the zero exactly. By 9 inches, we're almost off by a 16th, and it gets worse as you go. This is pretty unacceptable, honestly. By 24 inches, we're off by a little over a 16th. It's pretty ridiculous, and pretty easy to fix. I mean, it's just a thin sticker that's on here, and could easily be overlaid with another thin sticker that's accurate, so I don't know. So how flat is this table? Well, I'm gonna tell you, I'm kind of shocked. 3 thousandths. This is usually, right here that I find is usually the worst spot. That is dead flat. I mean dead flat to 3 thousandths. You get a little bit on the back side here. This one is a divot right around the back part, like right here. Same spot, 6 thousandths. A little bit there maybe. It is 5 thousandths off at its worst, and that is like right there. Not bad for a job site table saw. It's really not bad at all. So we've got our outfeed table at 15 inches, but I threw my normal outfeed table behind it just to have something so it wouldn't hit the floor. We got our Harbor Freight dust collector hooked up. Let's start all this stuff and rip a 2x4. How about some 1/2-inch plywood and a little 3/4? So we'll do 2x and 1x pine. We got this piece of red oak, and then 3 1/4 thick treated cedar tone. What's left of a 4x4. Not too shabby on the dust collection. Less mess than I think we normally get. There's a little bit, and most of this is from this 3x. Nice cut. Not bad. Not freaking bad. So is this worth talking about? Not really. It was 90 out of the box, so fantastic. It's ABS plastic. Little Delrin on the bottom, they could slide. Skil, that's hard to read. Yeah, it's typical. All right, let's see if this thing really has the power. Here's an 1.5 inch tall by 13/16 deep. We got the Dado plate. We're not using the standard washer and nut. The Dado plate comes with a thinner one, and we're not obviously using the factory plate. Let's figure out how much power this saw really has. So this is treated pine and not a block of oak, but still, man, I'm pretty impressed. That's a pretty deep dado through a treated piece of wood. I mean, this is not wet treated. This one's been around for probably a year, this chunk, and it's pretty dry, but right through the knots, no problem. Beautiful. Power, man. Crazy power with this saw. I like this saw a lot. It's not perfect. It has its shortcomings. There's a few things that aren't right. But overall, freaking badass. Well, leave a comment. What do you guys think of this thing? There's a lot of good. There's a lot of metal. The tubing for this stand is 16 gauge metal. It is thick. It feels solid. It feels like good quality. Metal gears on the adjustments, everything on this is solid. Metal throat plates. I like this saw. I like it. It's got a few things that are not the best, but overall, the power is freaking ridiculous. Look at the dado. It's the first time we tried to do this with one of these saws, and it won't be the last. So the saws that can accept a dado, we're gonna do something like this for all of them to really test the power, because while I can't show you the long-term advantages and the long-term use of this saw, because I'm one guy. I do this once a week, I try. And I can't use every tool for a year before I give you a weekly review. It just isn't possible. So I show you the initial quality and what we get out of the box and what we're working with when you start. The cons, there are some cons. The ruler, totally unacceptable. Come on, man. It's obviously misprinted. I don't know if there's one available from Skil to fix this. I don't know, but I guarantee you can buy one 1 through 24 inches off Amazon or a lot of woodworking places and just overlay it. Should you have to do that with a $650 saw? No. But it is what it is. If you want one of these, you might have to do that. Or you just measure with the tape measure, which is what a lot of people do, and I still do that a lot too, especially with these smaller saws. I took a file to the rail, to the ends of the aluminum rail here, hoping that it'll stop shaving that material off. So I don't know if that's ever going to become an actual issue with this saw. If it does, you guys will be the first ones to know, because I'm keeping this saw. We're gonna use this thing for quite a while and we'll revisit it. If you wanna see a comparison video with this saw, we still have the DeWalt sitting there. That's gotta go back to its owner. Sorry, Matt. I've had this thing for a long time, it just sits here. So if you guys wanna see that, let me know. We got the little Wormdrive, we could do that. We could do the Delta. We have the Evolution. Please don't ask for the Evolution, I'm not doing that. All in all, pretty damn good. Powerful as hell. Not the noisiest one we've done. Awesome stand. Let me know. I like it. I think it's cool. It sure has presence, man. If you're looking for something to look cool in your man cave garage, you could do worse than this, because this thing has some freaking presence and almost looks intimidating, especially with those crazy wheels. You guys own this? If you have these problems, if you don't have these problems, you got different problems, let us know in the comments. It helps all of us know more about these products. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you like this one, hit subscribe, hit like on this video. It helps out the channel more than you guys can imagine. Thanks a lot. I'll see you in the next one.